Today's focus will be on both VCT China and EMEA's kickoff tournaments. I have a lot of videos I want to get out before Madrid starts, so I'm combining two regions for both recaps. I chose China and EMEA because I find it interesting that both regions have more Australians on their team than all of Pacific combined, with Elmore Putty on Fnatic, Wolves with Christopher Lee, and including Autumn on FPX. Nonetheless, I want to start off with metas because I think EMEA's approach has been the most interesting and impressive. Throughout every region, Raze has a higher pick rate than Jet thanks to the map pull and Riot's past nerfs on this Korean duelist. However, EMEA is the only region where Yoru has seen more play than Jet, and they actually make Yoru look better than Jet on maps like Breeze, where you'll think she's clearly better. This is just wild to me. We're living in a time where Artis is better on Yoru than he is on Jet. Even Carmine Corp has shown some impressive and creative plays with him, like comboing his ult with Astras or using Omen blinds together.
They ain't out of the woods just yet, though. They need more. They gotta keep finding this. Martin's going hunting. He's after you, Alpha. Run, boy, run. The paranoia was from so far away. That was targeted. That was an assassination right there.
They keep proving that Yoru might be the best duelist to have in a double controller setup. I had a feeling that Yoru would be tearing it up on Breeze, but these split plays have really surprised me. One of the common aspects that you heard about past Chinese teams was that their tactics and executions were a bit too simplistic and raw, and for some this is still true. However, we've seen more and more teams embrace Yoru with double controllers. Wolves too are playing with Yoru on Breeze as well as double controller with no Sentinel on Bind, and both these comps gave EDG some problems. The days of just running it down with double dive agents in China are dwindling. Outside of duelists though, initiators for every region have been more balanced too. With the recent Sky nerfs, it's been interesting to see how teams are adapting. In EMEA, we've seen a lot more Fade, which makes sense since her package overall has been the second best at clearing corners when Sky was the go-to pick. I think this region has embraced the idea of not picking Sky the best with their top competition like Team Heretics, not even using Sky once in kickoffs, while Carmine Corp has only used her on Bind and Ascent. Even then, each initiator's pick rate is about even here. China on the other hand has embraced Sova as Sky's replacement on maps like Icebox, Ascent, and Sunset, sometimes pairing him with KO and Breach to make up for the lack of flashes. Overall, I think we can say that Riot is achieving their goals for teams to use a wider array of agents with their balance changes. The same balance changes that they've gone on record to say that they will be slowing down a bit to give players and VCT competitors time to adjust to. For the top teams in China, it's no secret that EDG is still the best. So whenever someone pushes them or even beats them, there's cause to raise one of your eyebrows a bit and say, what's going on here? Last year was a bit different since EDG played over 50 tier 1 games, so of course you expect them to slacken some. However, after some much needed rest, we can't use that excuse anymore. Wolves could have easily beaten Edward Gaming. I think a big part of this was because they weren't playing your typical Chinese team comps you may have seen in the past. Plus, they have shooters too.
对面是5个人走 B 大气势，当然这是我们上帝视角知道的事情。打了克里斯，假设 Spring 立刻给他数位穿板，选择因为自己现在血量比较低 ，EDG 站在高点，在超动个人能力了，3杀了 ，Spring 4杀了 ，Spring。
You might want to keep an eye out on this team in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them in champs. I also mentioned in my Pick'ems video that FPX seems like a deeper team than Dragon Ranger Gaming, which just speaks about Chinese teams in general. I want to say the top 5 or 7 teams in this region each have 1 or 2 players that can hold their own on the global stage. If you put their best player on a top level team from a different region, then you will still see good value from them. The thing is though, Valorant is a team-based game, so it might be harder to come to that conclusion if you're just looking at surface level results. Fun Plus Phoenix has done a good job at getting some of those top players, like how they kept A Yang. He showed out against EG and T1 last year during champs as a fragging initiator, which is a pretty rare asset to have in general. Life is also on this team too. He played for both EDG and Attacking Soul Esports in the past, where he did decent against DRX and Masters Tokyo. Then you have Autumn, who is their team's duelist. Him and Life have been playing a lot of Yoru on top of Phoenix, Jet, and Raze. For EMEA, we have to mention Foot Esports. They, like many of us, did not know Group A was EMEA's group of death till it was too late. And in my opinion, they look more impressive against Team Heretics and Carmine Corp than Na'Vi and Fnatic did. You could make a solid argument that Group A had the best 3 teams in EMEA. A wild statement, I know. However, is it more wild than telling someone back in 2023 that Karmine Corp and Team Heretics would be considered the best in this region? Regardless, both these teams have hit the reset button on their rosters and it paid off big time. The commonality continues since both teams have former Fortnite pros in Benji Fishy and Martine. And we're not done yet either. These groups of players and coaches are changing the meta the most. Navi at times ran the same plays that they did when they were once known as Fun plus Phoenix on Breeze in the past, despite them playing more Yoru. While Fnatic hasn't really shown us much despite Bolster always teasing us Yoru on Twitter, or X now. Yes, they're playing Omen now instead of Astra and Lotus, but many teams did that last year anyways. Don't get me wrong, Navi and Fnatic are still very good teams, but they just got beaten by a group of younger individuals who are trying newer stuff out. If we look at China, I think JD Gaming underperformed the most. I don't know how people in China were rating them, but the rest of the world looked at them as the second best Chinese team, because they were constantly placing in the top of Chinese tournaments when the core of this roster was known as Rare, Atom. They even beat EDG before too. However, they had 2 Korean imports during that time, in Yeoman and Stu. They kept Stu, who's still very cracked at the game, and you can't really blame them. Maybe someone in the Pacific region should look into getting Yeoman. Nonetheless, they lost to Titan Esports Club twice, the same team that has RB. But Titan Esports Club also lost to Dragon Ranger Gaming too in the group stages. It's hard to say that they're still the second best team in China based on these results in their groups. For teams that kind of overperformed, some may have said Dragon Ranger Gaming did, which I'm not too sure. In my previous Valorant China video, I said that they could make waves, so I wasn't too surprised to see them in the Final 4. The same with Tech, since they brought in RB, who has flexed in 4 different roles and agents in this recent tournament. I think you might say that Wolf surprised people the most by almost beating EDG in their series. They look better against them than FPX did. Unfortunately, they lost to Bilibili in their rematch, so that argument is kind of shaky. Maybe we could just say that China as a whole is getting more competitive, and things aren't as clear-cut as we thought. For EMEA, it's easy to say that KC and Team Heretics overperformed many people's expectations. I said in my power rankings I could see both teams dominate later in the season, but they basically said no, we're too impatient, let's shock the world now. And I also want to mention Koi for getting out of the group stages. They announced their roster like a week and some change before kickoffs even started. I don't know if it was a case of them being really sneaky and practicing behind closed doors, or the more likely speculation, they really formed this team last second. Nonetheless, on the back of Shados, they made it into play-ins by beating Team Liquid, where they eventually went 0-2, but still overperformed many of our expectations. That leaves us with Team Liquid, who kinda underperformed greatly by getting grouped. It seems Still was onto something when he was cooking them live on air, despite Kiko dropping 37 kills.
Kiko has to be the reason they won that map, right? Has to be, surely.
Look, I need you to get a seat right now, okay? You need to sit down, you need to brace yourself. But it felt like there were a lot of mistakes and decision-making questions from like the whole of Team Liquid, including Kiko. Frags over the next person, but at the same time, he's getting some trades.
He's lost the plot. He's lost the plot. I don't care, Josh. I don't care about any of that.
He did a really good job. It's a team effort, though.
They're
gonna need it. They're gonna need that team effort.
Kiko and mates.
What can we say? The man knows ball for real. Which kind of sucks since as an org, they're doing all the right things. They make pretty good social media content, and they brought in excellent tier 2 talent to fix some of their issues. As a fan, you can't be too mad because at least they're trying. You just gotta say GG go next and hope they address their weaknesses properly before the first split of regional play starts. Overall, you can say that the winners in EMEA was determined by those who were most willing to embrace the changes that Riot put in place, and got rewarded the most for it. This could truly signal a new era in Valorant, one where we see new faces as well as different agents taking over unique comps. While in China, we see that orgs who had a deeper team won. Their tactics and executions can still be a little rough, but it is getting better. But till next time, stay safe, and I'll be yapping in the next one.